I don't care if he's pooped his pants. I don't care if he can't put a sentence together. Show me he can't do the job, and then I'll say, okay, maybe it's time to go.
Whoopi Goldberg on The View said that she doesn't care if Joe Biden pooped his pants. She still supports him as president. Kyle Kulinski on the YouTube channel Secular Talk broke all of this down. Let's take a look.
So Biden's stormtroopers are not backing down. And in fact, they're leaning into their deference to the dear leader. And this clip here went viral. Whoopi Goldberg on The View. You know, she, of course, was one of the biggest Biden backers, along with Joy Behar. And, I mean, this clip speaks for itself, man. Let's listen, and then we'll discuss.
I don't care if he's pooped his pants. I don't care if he can't put a sentence together. Show me he can't do the job, and then I'll say, okay, maybe it's time to go. Now, he had a bad night the first time that he went out and debated with Kamala Harris. And everybody wanted him to quit then and say, you can't talk to women like this, or you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. He came back, said, you know what, I got it, and gave 4 years. So, yeah, I have poopy days all the time. I step in so much poo you can't even imagine. Now, I'm not running the world, but I don't know anybody who doesn't step in stuff at some point. So I'm just simply saying there are two debates. And if he can't do what he needs to do for the second debate, I'll join any crew that says get rid of him. But loyalty to me, if you are doing the job, I might not like everything you're doing. I don't like it all. But I'm going to stand behind you like those guys stand behind the guy who should have been the person people were talking about saying, yeah, Biden had a bad day, but this guy couldn't tell the truth if it split his lip.
I guess what I don't understand is that we are still in a place where he can step down. Like, we are still in a place where Biden can do the right thing, say, you know, look, I'm dealing with some stuff and I need to step aside and I need to relax. I mean, he already said I need to go to bed by like 8 o'clock as president of the United States. You would think he would realize, like, that sounds horrible for president of the United States, and it's also kind of unacceptable for president of the United States. We're still in a place where you could put enough pressure on him to step down, and then we can have a process to determine who the candidate is. She's not delivering this rant post-convention, where he's certified as the nominee and you're locked in. She's not doing that. She's doing it this early, which is sort of like political malpractice and negligence to me, right? Because these are the same people who correctly say Trump is an existential threat and we got to get rid of him. But then you're going into a battle with both arms tied behind your back by staying with Biden. Look, I can understand. In fact, I've made this argument about Bernie Sanders. I've said I would vote for Bernie Sanders' carcass over Donald Trump. You know, I don't care what issues Bernie Sanders has. He represents an agenda. I prefer him over a Republican no matter what. So I understand the argument of like, hey man, it's about the agenda, it's not about the individual. But again, if you care first and foremost about defeating Trump, you would want to put up, at the very least, a better candidate against Trump who has...
I can agree with a lot of what Kyle Kulinski is saying here, but I think what most Americans think, you know, you got Whoopi Goldberg, who she's just Democratic Party establishment. Her and Joy Behar and Sunny Hostin and the other ladies on The View, they are openly saying they're going to support Joe Biden no matter what. And then on the other side, you have people that love Donald Trump. But you have a majority of the country who is saying, give us somebody else. We've got 330 million people in the United States. We can't come up with anybody other than these two old men who now this is Trump's third election in a row and this is Biden's second election in a row. Just this time that he's run for president, not the multiple other times that he's run for president. So most people are saying, no, Whoopi Goldberg, Joe Biden is too old. We want somebody else in there. And we should have a baseline standard for being president of the United States that is higher than pooping their pants and not being able to form sentences. There's got to be people out there who could do this job better.
Has a better chance of winning, according to the polling, and most importantly, can complete sentences and we're not sitting there anxious, nervous, holding our breath, listening to every word coming out of his mouth, just waiting for the next train wreck. So it's frustrating, man. It's frustrating. Because I think there's going to come a time in the future where people look back at stuff like this, and as absurd as it looks now, it will look straight up evil when we look back 10 years from now at the stuff these people are saying. Quote, I don't care if he pooped his pants or can't put a sentence together. Well, again, her next line is like, he needs to show me he can't do the job if I'm going to turn against him. Well, you just explained away that he can't really do his job. If you're shitting your pants and you can't complete a sentence, there are consequences to that. Whoopi. But Biden, look, when you ooze this weakness and this feebleness, they're gonna fucking walk all over you. And so it actually does affect the job. It does affect the job. She also says, oh, he had a bad night the first time in 2019. Guys, that's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. Now, granted, look, he was already starting to deal with the beginning of cognitive issues back then. But if you go back and look at the tapes from 2019 and compare them to now, 2019 Biden is a totally different guy. Way more with it than he is right now. He's aged 10 or 15 years in just 4 years. So to pawn it off, oh, he had a bad debate in 2019. Whoopi, you know that's not the same thing. You know.
And for Whoopi Goldberg, this isn't 2019. We're looking at 5 years later. So what happened in 2019 with Joe Biden doesn't really matter for right now. Yes, candidates can have bad debate nights. Obama famously had a bad first debate against Mitt Romney, and he was able to recover from that, but he wasn't he was a relatively young man. He wasn't someone suffering from the kind of decline that Joe Biden is having.
Oh, it is different now. You know, it is worse now. You know, the stakes of this are Trump gets back in office. All the things that you rightly fear, well, why don't you want to put up the best candidate, or at least a better candidate, to give us a fighting chance? And then the final thing is, she mentions the second debate there. She's like, look, they'll have a second debate. If he like flubs that one too, then okay. On what planet do you think, oh, he's going to come out in the second debate and suddenly look like, 2012 Biden or 2016 Biden? On what planet do you think that's going to happen? Everybody has dealt with grandparents or parents of, around Biden's age, and you see the progression in the wrong direction, in the scary direction. Everybody's had hey, look, we got to take grandma's car keys here. We don't want to do it, but we kind of have to do it. We're being put in a position where we have no choice. Everybody's seen that. He's not going to magically get better. He's not going to magically get better. And also, it's kind of interesting, right? Because she's slamming the people who want Biden to step down now, but she's also admitting, hey, one more mess up in a second debate and I'll join you. Well, for the love of God, somebody put together a massive compilation for Whoopi Goldberg of the moments from 2019 until today that are very, very concerning moments. Like, remember when Biden said, Jackie, are you here? And Jackie was dead? Remember when he said he had a conversation with Mitterrand, the head of France, and that guy's also dead?
Also, what Kyle Kulinski doesn't say here, Whoopi Goldberg says, I would agree with you if we get to the second debate, and he falls flat on that one. The second debate is in September. It would be very, very difficult for the Democrats to come up with a new candidate then. You'd be less than 2 months before the election. So Whoopi Goldberg thinks they're just going to magically put somebody in place there the middle of September.
Again, I don't know if it's not enough evidence for you now. Maybe it genuinely is the case that there will never be enough evidence for you. And that's kind of wild to me. That's kind of wild because the stakes are as high as people say they are. And they're on board a sinking ship. And they're like, I'm comfortable here. This is fine. Maybe it'll unsink. I don't think it will, man. I don't think it will. By the way, I could make a better argument for Biden than these idiots can, which is kind of sad, right? I mean, again, your argument is, I don't care if he pooped his pants or can't put a sentence together. Show me he can't do the job. Well, you just explained how he wouldn't be able to do the job in that scenario. If you're pooping your pants and you can't put a sentence together, you are incapable of leading and making rational decisions. But if you want to make the argument, obviously the thing you would do is you'd say, forget about the individual. It's about the agenda. And then you list off a bunch of the things that were positive things that the Biden administration did. If you want to make the argument, that's the argument you make. But even if you're making that argument, again, it's something you could make after he's already verified as the nominee. Right now, in this moment, it is dangerous and reckless and irresponsible to make that argument. Because it's not like, hey, it's over, and this is the guy, and we're totally done here, and so I'm not even voting for him, I'm voting against Trump, and I'll explain why. Here's the agenda, here's all the accomplishments I like, here's what's going to happen in the second term. At that time, I will understand somebody making that argument, and I understand that perspective. There you have it. These are Biden's loyal foot soldiers. These are the points that they're making.
And Kyle Kulinski is right about this, them being the loyal foot soldiers. Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and Anna Navarro and Sunny Hostin and these women on The View, they are all in for Biden, and they're going to defend him no matter what. And the thing that's going to happen is after he loses the election, and probably loses the election badly, they're going to blame voters. They're going to blame young people because they stayed home and they didn't vote for this senile old guy. That's what it's going to be, because Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and Sunny Hostin, they're all going to be fine because they'll have their millions of dollars of money from The View. So none of this really matters to them. They'll just be able to go on TV and rail against Trump. Their ratings will probably go up because the people who like their show and are blue voters through and through and supported Joe Biden no matter what. I mean, you hear them applaud on the show anytime they say that Joe Biden shouldn't drop out. This will probably benefit Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and all the rest. Biden losing, because they can spend the next 4 years crying about it and talk about how terrible Trump is, all the while they just make more and more money. It's really wild to me. I mean, what an idiotic statement by Whoopi Goldberg to say, I don't care if he poops his pants. I mean, look how far we've fallen as a country. It's just insane. But what do you think? Do you agree with Whoopi Goldberg? Do you think what she said on The View was right? Do you agree with Kyle Kulinski here and me that this is insanity, that Joe Biden needs to drop out? If you like this content, make sure to subscribe, give me a like, and comment on the video. That helps. That engagement helps me to grow the channel. I'll see you in the next video.